It took me over an hour to get the Santa Monica bus from over here, Santa Monica and Wilshire. Took me over an hour to get into Hollywood. We should get to 4, the next one that's coming. This doesn't stop at the Family History Center. I'm still, at this point, I'm single, I'm not married, I'm eligible to go out on dates, I'm available for that type of stuff. But because I work in the temple, I have to go very easy on these relationships, and it's not, you know, instant sex and wham bam, thank you ma'am stuff, you know. It's not, you know, what it once was. We don't even live in a world that world doesn't exist anymore. And so, I'm spoiled from the past, and it's hard to put those memories kind of get. It's hard to put them away. They're my fondest memories.
It doesn't pay to try. All the smart boys know why. It doesn't mean I didn't try.
People that get into bands and people that are musicians, whether they are conscious of it or not, they're usually looking for something out there, and they're usually looking for the truth.
Arthur told me, I want to start this band, a really wild rock and roll band, and I want to call it The Dolls.
Gee, that's a great name. For rock band, Doll or Dolls, this is a great thing.
He had a groove. The groove came out of the fact that he loved the band he was in and loved the song he was playing.
On stage, he moved a bit robotically, kind of like a giant Frankenstein.
He doesn't look like he would be that active.
Arthur couldn't breathe and play bass at the same time.
He would take like a deep breath and then like bang out a bunch of notes and then stop and then take a deep breath and then bang out a bunch of notes, and that was the uniqueness.
You don't kind of mix a tutu with engineer boots, but Arthur would take the engineer boots and paint them yellow or something. And so on the one hand, he seemed kind of a bit effeminate, but on the other hand, he was a very big, solid, macho guy.
You can't put your arm around a man my way. Don't try. Don't try. You're just a bastard kid, and you got no name. 'Cause you're living with me, we're one and the same. And even though they don't show.
Well, Arthur was struggling with alcohol. Johnny and Jerry were struggling with heroin.
Arthur was too drunk to play, and because Johnny and Jerry were too stoned to play, the drugs became more important to them than the band.
From driving around in limousines and playing in the Olympia Theater and living some type of, you know, truly magnificent, to living a life that most people don't get a chance to live on Earth, to having that and then losing that because of our bad behavior and our use of drugs and all of that stuff. We lost the New York Dolls just a few years into the whole thing.
Don't try.
Demoted from rock star to schlep on the bus. Gotta go.
How did you get the name Killer Kane?
Okay, first article written about the New York Dolls mentioned killer bass lines. Killer as a descriptive adjective talking about my bass playing, killer bass lines. But one of the adversaries of Buck Rogers was someone they called the Leader Kane or Killer Kane. Hey, Killer! I became Killer Kane. Hey, Killer!
Yeah, Killer Kane. That's Arthur. You wouldn't know it because he's very quiet. He's very quiet, but that's true. He's still got the playing in him. You never forget that, I guess.
Because my name is Arthur, the guitar's nickname is Excalibur. And we want to get, according to the legend, straight. Excalibur is not the guitar, is not the name of the sword that Arthur drew from the stone. Excalibur is the name of the sword given to Arthur by the Lady of the Lake. I am the Anchorman.
Are you?
I tell the truth. Okay, even if I don't actually count off the song, I'm responsible for keeping the tempo at a certain thing and
Yes.
maintaining that everything's flowing smoothly and that all the beginnings and ends of the songs can flow together.
I started working with him every day, and he works like 3 days a week. He keeps the copiers loaded with paper, all the different stations that we have here in the library, and he does all of that. He's a terrific guy.
Known Arthur for, I guess, about 2 years, and I remember he said he had a band, but I had no idea they were as popular as they were in New York, and that he was such an important part of their group. Can't believe I know a rock star.
Yes.
Who'd have thought?
Yes.
He had extreme humility. He really did. Yet here he is connected to one of the most raucous, notorious rock and roll bands in musical history.
Try it, won't pick it up. Take them lights away. Try it, won't pick it up. Don't take your life away. Try it, won't pick it up. Don't try to take my night away. And please don't you ask me if I love you. If you don't know what I'm...
Because it was such fantastic pop music. It just seemed to me like the absolute answer to everything.
The MC5 and the Stooges were good, but it was the Dolls that were really exciting.
They came out of a New York City that was broken on the rocks and therefore had wide openings for rock and roll to emerge like weeds in cracked cement.
The New York Dolls' impact in London was, it was a bomb going off.
They assimilated all this music into their sound, and at the time it was too much for most people to be able to handle.
Pick it up, don't take my night away. Try it, won't pick it up. Forgot to take them all away. And please don't you ask me if I love you. 'Cause I don't know if I do. I want to wipe it out here with you.
You must remember that from the point of view of anyone who loved music, music was dead.
People forget how absolutely dank things were, how dank life was and pop art was.
Either it's stupid, in my opinion, heavy metal. These nonsensical prog rock rubbish.
There was no sense of danger within pop music at all.
Well, they were all wearing Afghan coats, and they all played 25-minute drum solos, and it was boring.
Amazing.
What can I say?
Growing up in the New York City area, being a teenager when the Dolls were at their peak, they were gods to me.
The New York Dolls were kind of like a pinhole of light in the early 70s.
Their image was somewhat disturbing to a lot of people.
So here were boys who were calling themselves dolls, and they looked like prostitutes, male prostitutes, and it was extraordinary.
I loved the Osmonds and David Cassidy and everything. I thought they were cute and they were sweet and they were easy to photograph and they were easy to work with. But suddenly I'm looking at this bunch and I thought, okay, fasten your seatbelts. We're in for a good time now.
Say, man, they tell me you're pretty good. Don't you know you're in my neighborhood? They tell me you're pretty fast on them feet. You best be at the dance down on 14th Street. You hear? Yeah, it's gonna be a showdown.
The list is astonishing. The Pretenders, the Sex Pistols, the Clash, the Damned, Generation X. The list is absolutely endless.
We took a lot from the New York Dolls. We took a lot.
You know, they were like really, really raw rock and roll, really high energy, great songs, and they looked like they came from Mars or somewhere.
It was like a telegram from outer space. Just like this fantastic comet suddenly lands. And it's multicolored and it's gorgeous and it makes the most fabulous sound.
The most important thing was style to them, and that made such a massive impression.
The world wasn't ready. It seems to take the pop world 30 years to understand anybody, to really understand a group or an artist. And often it takes deaths within the group. And then people say, yes, we do like those people now that they're not here. And there's no reason on earth why it shouldn't have happened. But for some strange reason, this group has always been cursed.
Johnny and Jerry formed the Heartbreakers. David and Syl, for a while, continued on being the New York Dolls. Arthur, I think then, at that time, pretty much went off on his own.
I think I just lost him, actually. Good. That's good.
He was in several other bands. He moved to Los Angeles. He formed a band called Killer Kane with a former guitar player of mine, and that didn't work out. And he formed another band with Jerry Nolan of the Dolls called the Idols. And they were around for about a year or two. And then he returned to New York and he formed another band called the Corpse Grinders. And then he moved back to Los Angeles and with his wife, Barbara.
Well, I had the unique experience of being a rock star's wife that had no money. I was not the pampered pet that some of these women are, living in beautiful mansions, driving nice cars, etc., etc.
He was down and out for a long time.
He was very, very sad and very, very embittered about the way his life had turned out. He had never earned money from the Dolls, yet anybody who remotely imitated the Dolls were having millions of dollars thrown at them. I think that was very difficult for him to live with.
Especially when, seeing how successful Johnny had become, and Jerry, and then David with his alter ego, Buster Poindexter. I think it was hard on him. It was very hard on him.
There was so much pain in his eyes, and I don't think he really enjoyed his life.
Because Arthur was a rock artist, he didn't have many skills.
We both were doing some extra film work.
A lot of sci-fi and action adventure. I was in Critters. We were in Spaceballs, Inner Space.
I had no money, we had no friends. I was just, I couldn't get off of the booze. I was smoking also.
He had seen one of the Dolls, I won't say who, on TV.
Hey, you don't mind if I smoke, do you? Smoke, just try it.
It flipped him out so much and hurt him so much that He went out and drank a quart of peppermint schnapps. He ripped all my clothes off. He started to beat me with the cat furniture. And I left him. And that's when he jumped out the kitchen window.
I went out the window thinking that I could do it. I didn't.
He jumped out of the third story. The planter box broke his fall.
I landed on my head. I shattered my kneecap, and I shattered my left elbow, and to this day I have a couple of metal screws hanging out of here. It took me a year to teach myself how to walk again. In AA, this is called being at rock bottom. I was sitting in bed, and I had a Bible, but I also had a TV guide, and I was watching one TV, and I happened to notice in the TV guide was an ad for a church, and the church is called the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
They say, send for the Book of Mormon. It's free.
I thought, well, I'll make a phone call, and they'll mail me a book, and then maybe I'll read the book, or maybe I won't. You know, we'll see what they got. Maybe it's Jehovah's Witnesses or whatever it might be. I don't know what they're selling.
So he called the Book of Mormon people. Well, they don't send it. They bring it.
Two beautiful, young, blonde missionaries came to my door. Mormon missionaries came to my door, and they said, sister missionaries, yeah, and they said, hello, we're here to teach you your 7 basic gospel principle classes. I think it was one late afternoon, I decided to give it a whirl and sincerely prayed to find out if the Book of Mormon was true. And tell the truth, I received an answer pretty much right away. And the only thing I could liken it to from my experiences was that it was a bit like a trip, an LSD trip from the Lord.
Well, I think it happens a little differently to everyone.
Well, a lot of people describe it as a burning, that they feel a burning sensation in their chest.
They sense it in a way that is very difficult to describe.
It was like a drug experience, but there were no drugs involved.
When he told me, he said, you're never going to believe this, but I've converted to Mormonism.
Joining the Mormon church changed things for him.
The Mormon thing, I think, gave him some kind of a purpose, because he did have something to do. He had to go to these, he went to his job there, and he would go to the services, and he was really, into doing it.
Oh, where's Arthur tonight? And he's like, oh, he couldn't make it out tonight. He's got church in the morning.
And I'm like, church? What are you talking about? Because, not a lot of people go to church.
Very paradoxical when you think of this guy in lipstick and fishnet tights and, creating chaos around the world and becoming a Mormon, just kind of, it'd be like Donny Osmond becoming a New York Doll.
Nothing to believe in but nothing. A lot of heroin, a lot of drugs, nothing. I'm always happy when someone finds something they can believe in.
With the gang no more. He don't do the wild things that he did before. He used to act bad, used to, but he quit. It makes me so sad. I know that he did it for me, and I can see still in the street. His heart out in
It became a bit lonely for me for the first couple of years in the church.
Russ Tippett was assigned as Arthur's home teacher.
In theory, at least, every member of the church is assigned a home teacher.
Expected to make at least 1 visit a month to the home, sometimes more, depending on how things are and depending on their level of friendship.
I mean, he, on many times, when we were driving to and from church, expressed to me frustrations with the church.
Okay, turning point, big turning point, even in the Mormon church for me was just even recently, although I joined in 1989, was Mac McGregor saying, hey, got a job for you in the Family History Center. And says, it's a calling if you'd like.
I think it was a little bit of a shock to him, and he he had his way of showing his surprise.
Well, Arthur Kane might be a good candidate for working in the family history library. It might be something that interests him and that he would like to do. And tell the truth, it was perfect. And that was perfect. And tell the truth, working for Jesus Christ and working for the Church of Jesus Christ made all the difference in the world.
He works with people here that come in and are looking for their great-great-great-grandmother, great-great-grandfather. And that's really a difficult thing. 2 weeks after I started working in the Family History Library, I was going through the Social Security death records. I found out that my dad had passed away. My own dad. I said, I have no brothers and sisters. I had my mom and dad. My mom passed away when I was 17. About a year or so later, my dad got married to someone, of course, I didn't want to ever talk to. And that was the end of my family life.
He discovered that his dad had died, and he never found out about it in any other way except he read it there. I mean, that was such a shock to him to realize that here his own father, he had to learn about it by reading it in the Family History Center.
Arthur was always short on finances. His rent was paid by Social Security disability. You know, he would run low even on grocery money. He tasted success at a young age and had his expectations raised very high. And, of course, he never met those expectations or came anywhere close to meeting those expectations.
Me and him, we'd go out to see bands a lot. He'd go, we should be up there playing. What's this stuff, man? Well, you know, he goes, why are we standing there looking at these guys? They don't, you know, so he'd get pissed off. And he wasn't even drunk, so if he was drunk, forget about it.
That's all he talked about was the dolls and getting back together.
That's all he had on his mind, is getting the dolls back together. That was sort of his life.
He was always wanting it to happen, but there was no real solid way of going about it.
There was a scripture read to Arthur in a home teaching lesson, and it's in Mormon 9:21, in the Book of Mormon.
Behold, I say unto you that whoso believeth in Christ, doubting nothing, whatsoever he shall ask the Father in the name of Christ, it shall be granted him. And this promise is unto all, even unto the ends of the earth.
Well, the Meltdown Festival is an annual festival in England, and it's one person is appointed, if you like, the caretaker of the event, and this year it was me.
And I got an email from a friend I hadn't heard of in 30 years. He says, oh, Arthur, I understand you're in town to play, you'll be in town playing Marcy's Meltdown and at the Royal Festival this summer. I didn't know who to call. I got several emails, and I got some emails from some girls in France who each have Johnny Thunders and New York, their own New York Doll websites. But I figured, listen, I'm going to find out about this. Let me call the guy who's mainly responsible, Marcy. So I had a number for him that I hadn't called in 5 years. Just his private number, because I know he has a place to stay here in LA. So I called the number, and I was shocked to get him on the phone. He was shocked that I was calling him also. I said, please tell me what's going on.
He was so full of doubt. Could it possibly be? David really wants to do it. Play those songs. We're going to be together. We're going to rehearse. I'm going to go to New York and rehearse with them. I said, Arthur, people love the Dolls, and they want it to happen, and it's going to be absolutely wonderful.
Probably right across the street from the Houses of Parliament, you know, and the River Thames, and Big Ben is be around the corner and the whole thing.
His head was so full of dreams. He just started talking about, you know, stories from 30 years ago with the Dolls, his hopes of, you know, what his future career would be like, how much he was looking forward to getting back together with David Johansen and Sylvain, and you know, he was just so happy. It was a beautiful sight to behold.
it's something that's meant to be. And to say all of the cards are being, you know, laid out on the table, just, you know, for this event to take place, this historic musical event to take place. How can I go from Family History Center to the Royal Albert in one fell swoop?
Tell me where we just came from.
Well, we just came from the pawn shop where I had gotten a loan on this guitar. And I was in jeopardy of losing some of my guitars into the pawn shop because I didn't have the money even to pay the interest on the loan.
For several years, he had been paying the pawn shop $175 a year so that they could keep his guitars, when all he had to do was pay them $262 to get the guitars out of the pawn shop. Well, he just looked at me quizzically as if it had never really occurred to him that he could do that. In retrospect, perhaps the reason it never occurred to him was because he never had $262 at any one time that would have enabled him to do that.
Why not? Yeah.
You know, trying to recognize something.
There you go, buddy. All set.
This is a pretty groovy thing.
Give me a second.
People from the church have given me money to get it out, to make sure I have an instrument to practice on, because I have an upcoming show at Marcy's Meltdown in London to play this summer.
Yeah, he was very nervous. He was excited, but he was nervous too. He was really nervous.
What was he nervous about?
Playing the gig. I mean, he's going to play a festival. He hasn't played in, you know, with these guys in 30-something years. And he's going to go to London and play a festival in front of 100,000 people. Pretty scary for a guy like him.
Okay, it doesn't sound like much at the moment, you know, but...
I asked him, Arthur, are you nervous about getting together for the first time after 30 years? And his response was, I'm not nervous about anything. The only thing I'm nervous about is this guy they're getting to replace Johnny Thunders. You know, I'm nervous that he's not going to be able to keep up with the rest of us.
In the beginning, no one was sure how Arthur was going to be because he hadn't, I mean, Sylvain's been playing, David's been playing. I guess Arthur had been out of music for a while.
Arthur's always, they're always asking, can Arthur play? Can Arthur play?
I'm not worried about the music. And I'm not worried about... Stop requested. I'm not worried about what I look like, and I'm not worried about the music. Okay, because I play a bass guitar, which is a large guitar, I'm not running around on stage doing power slides, you know, or setting the guitar on fire and playing it with my teeth upside down and stuff, you know. It's just not something bass players do. Most bass players, you just get in the groove and stay there and keep it together.
I mean, you guys may become Arthur Kane groupies.
We could, I guess. We could. I'm a little bit old, but then I can still be a groupie, I guess.
What I am worried about the fans partying like it's, you know, 1999 or whatever, you know. I'm worried that all the fans are going to view the Dolls as being the same party guys we were when we were 19 years old. Where you come out in the hallway of the hotel and there are people sleeping there in the hallway after the show. But not just one or two, it was 30 or 40. And so, when you go on tour and do that type of stuff,
Are you worried, Arthur?
fans are all over the place.
That could happen again.
Well, I tell the truth, it should happen again. It's just it's something you got to get used to it if you're not used to it. Let's say for 30 years I've been ignored and been living in obscurity and been told that I'm just a loser. And now, well, we want to get back to that fan excitement. But I have to get used to it because it's something I haven't dealt with in 30 years.
Okay, everybody ready? This is a camping song. Is everybody ready? Okay, are you rolling? Okay. Lonely Planet Boy. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, it's hard. Well, it's hard. Well, it's a lonely planet, joy, when you bring me some from them other boys. That's when I'm a lonely planet boy, and I'm trying for your love.
When we came that first day to rehearsal, even that first day, I was still like, I wasn't quite sure what was gonna happen. Because, you know, David didn't show up. It was sort of like, you know, it was frustrating in a way because, you know, we were, you know, we knew where we stood, me and Arthur. And all of a sudden we have like new guys that we really never knew or even met before, you know. And they're telling us, you know, like sort of our music better than, they know our music better than us almost, you know. I'll go, oh.
The Dolls had played together in, what, almost 30 years. So, you know, nobody knew if it was going to gel or if it was going to be a disaster.
I'm going to start it actually, you know, and now you know, those are
This is a very well-known jazz studio. It's probably the best rehearsal studio in New York City. And today we have been privileged to be graced by the New York Dolls, probably the coolest band that's ever come here.
And now you're lonely. It's a good time.
First time I got to meet these guys in the Dolls. I've heard about them, but you know, it's pretty exciting to be working with some of the original guys.
C to F, yeah, C to F. I don't know, I thought it was E, but maybe a D, but maybe it's E. Maybe you're right. I'm not sure. Does it go to the
Some things are in different keys, which I guess is maybe not so easy to do after you've played a song or written a song in a certain key like Arthur has.
Arthur had been out of music for a while. Maybe played a gig once every couple of years.
Maybe the first few minutes or something, he might have been a little bit flustered and say, hey, what am I doing here? But, you know, after a couple times through.
I'm still lost.
Fun. That was a lot of fun.
So David Johansen wasn't there today.
No.
How'd you feel about that?
It took the pressure off of being there today, in that sense.
Over the years, he came to look at David Johansen as something of an adversary rather than a friend.
And I think that seeing him on TV and as the alter ego of Buster Poindexter, I think it bothered him and felt that he was taking a part of a life that Arthur should have been sharing in.
By the time they got to New York for the rehearsals, that Arthur was expecting a very chilly reception from David.
Because he had this thing in his head about David, you know, and him and David had this thing going, I don't know what, and David didn't want to talk to him because he heard all the stuff that Arthur was saying about him, and Arthur was saying all these bad things, saying, oh, these guys are making money, they're in cahoots.
I talked to the bishop the other day about these anxieties, especially about David Johansen, you know, maybe playing tricks on people or making it, you know, difficult. But tell the truth, after I explained who David Johansen was and about, you know, all of this stuff, and the bishop just told me, he said, Arthur said, be a good Latter-day Saint, do your job, and everything will be fine.
It feels good. Feels good.
I did. I should.
Believe it now. It's okay. Hey, can we turn this up?
I'm sure we can.
I didn't know what they were thinking, but I didn't even, I just felt like I'm going to go in and enjoy these guys' company because, you know, I love them, so.
When I saw Arthur, he seemed genuinely happy that he and David were, as he put it, friends again.
I didn't see any tension. You know, maybe individually they were a little nervous or something, but they certainly didn't show it. And it just seemed like old pals just getting together again.
Yeah, we kind of picked up where we left off, right? Which is the way it should be.
Well, my impression was you left off in a trailer court in Florida screaming at each other.
Yeah.
I think you came back in a much better spot.
Yeah.
Oh, how are they going to do in London? Well, we'll wait and see.
I don't really know. I think the band sounds great. In a lot of cases, I think it sounds, I mean, better than the records. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
You know, the newspapers over there, if they can't say something nasty about you, they can't say anything at all.
I don't know. I don't even think about it. Go out there, give the best you got, and that's all you are, you know, and why try to be something you're not, you know, so we'll see how the show's going to go, but I'm going in there like it's going to be great. Look, these guys sound great, you know.
He is absolutely convinced that he is going to go out there and perform perfectly. He is going to do everything just exactly right. If there is a weak link, it is not going to be him.
London calling to the faraway towns. Now war is declared and battle come down. London calling to the underworld. Come out of the cupboard, you boys and girls. London calling, now don't look to us. Phony Beatlemania has bitten the dust.
But this slays me. Okay, I got a phone here. We got a phone here. I got a connection for two couple of computers or something like that. There's another phone in the bathroom, and I'm just saying. They have more stuff in this room than I have in my apartment. As far as living comfortably, you know, I don't have three phones and a computer plug-in system, you know, and nor do I have a beautiful, you know, mahogany desk or any of this other stuff, you know, and it's nice stuff. So tell the truth, I'd be just as happy to stay here and look at the Thames for the rest of my life, you know, or the Millennium Wheel and watch the people go by. And then nicer furniture in here than in my place at home. I got a bunch of junk. Makes my place look like rinky-dink. We like this mahogany, then the big chairs and the official-looking desk and all this stuff.
I was very lucky in the first time that I ever discovered the Dolls.
They appeared very famously on the Old Grey Whistle Test, which in those very dark days of '73 was a fantastic vision.
It's because the Old Grey Whistle Test was predominantly a really boring, really serious rock show that I hardly ever watched. And then all of a sudden the New York Dolls were on it, and their appearance on the Old Grey Whistle Test had a huge effect on the up-and-coming punk generation, which was my age group.
I kind of grew my hair like Johnny Thunders as much as possible and used to go around in very high-heeled shoes.
I was 13 and it was the right time, and for everybody there's an artist that catches you just at the right time, an artist or a group, and you never let them go. and they can never disappoint you. And the Dolls were that for me.
After Ziggy Stardust, probably the most influential group on my life.
He was this wild, totally tumultuous band, just making this glorious racket, and they didn't care about 25-minute drum solos, and they upset the presenter of the show who called it mock rock.
Mock rock. The New York Dolls.
Boring old fart, whispering Bob Harris, they called him. It's kind of taking the piss, and he's like, he called it mock rock, but when he said that, what he didn't realise is that thousands of kind of alienated kids were like, yeah, this is our band. You know, he's trying to put them down, but in fact, he went like this with them.
Well, when they came to London that first time with Billy Mercier, they really were a hair's breadth away from stardom, of achieving everything they'd wanted, of getting a great record deal. There was a good record deal on the table for them. It was being set up the night that Billy died.
And everybody was expecting the Dolls to walk on the stage. And, of course, they didn't. There was just suddenly an announcement that Billy had died, and everybody just collapsed.
There were two English groupies, and they said, oh, yes, we remember. We took Billy back to our apartment, and he was very stoned on Mandrex and alcohol, and he passed out, so we put him in a bathtub of cold water, and we poured hot coffee down his throat. Basically, what these two dumb groupies did was suffocate Billy.
It changes from being this really cute little glam fairy story to becoming much more hardcore as they go along and building up this dangerous reputation.
Since then, the replacement drummer, Jerry Nolan, has died. Johnny Thunders obviously has died. This is a blighted band, it really is.
Isn't that strange, after all these years of writing and talking about it? It's... Had it not been for heroin, Johnny and Jerry would have been at the show.
Now, this is the point in the proceedings when best bidding trousers on, because I'm going to take a great deal of money off you again this afternoon in the way that I...
We had to go to this banquet. It's like such a punishing banquet. I mean, in my opinion, Arthur was just having the time of his life. Arthur looked over at one point and said, "Isn't this delicious? This is the most delicious luncheon I've ever had." He was having a blast. He loved it.
Hello there, sir. Sorry to interrupt. You are Arthur Killer Kane, aren't you? I am a great fan of yours. A great fan of yours. I came to you earlier, but I'd just like to say thank you so much. Well done. Thank you for coming by. Beautiful. Now, are you enjoying your fish?
To present this award with Lawrence, very, very thrilled indeed to have one of the seminal rock and roll acts ever to come out of New York, the original Jet Boys. Will you give it up for the New York Dolls?
It gives me great pleasure. Who, after he gets this award, is going to go straight to hospital and sing a couple of tunes to cheer up the kids. Let's hear it from Morrissey.
I'd just like to say thank you for this. I'd like to say thank you to the Dolls. the only reason why I'm here, really. Thank you to the Mercury artists, and God bless everybody. Thank you.
Come take a look at this photo, Ron, that they've got of ours.
All right, we'll see you later.
Okay. We are. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Do you want some coffee?
When I say I'm in love, you best believe I'm in love, L-U-V.
One more time, and we'll go on.
When I say I'm in love, you best believe I'm in love, L-U-V.
We got to see Johnny Thunders mostly. Sometimes Jerry Nolan would be with him, sometimes Sylvain, you know, but this is the first time the actual Dolls.
Johansson and Thunders were like Jagger and Richards and Bad Acid or something.
They became a legend because they burned themselves, because, you know, this rock and roll way of life, drugs, going fast. This make the legend.
Fan for 20 years. I'm really looking forward to this.
My mind is positive for the show, because it's like you're going to meet old friends, you know, from a long time. So what's happened. I mean, if your friend is more old or more fat, or this is not a problem. We are here for the music. There is the story around the music, but basically it's the music. If they play good, it's okay for me.
You know, we mentioned Arthur Kane.
Yeah. I thought he was dead. I thought he went missing in action in LA or something after the riots.
You guys better be nice to us this time, or we're not coming back for another 30 years.
Are you worried at all about tonight?
No.
How come?
We've done our homework. We put in the time. We learned the songs. And there's a tremendous spirit that at the bottom of the New York Dolls. And it's got to do with Miss Hill and David. And there are 3 living New York Dolls and there are 3 dead New York Dolls. And so, the people who are dead, they are with us also in spirit somehow. This is like me being in the Family History Center. We're playing for our fans. They want us to sound good. They were encouraging us to sound good, and their hopes and dreams are with us, you know. And so to me, that type of audience, to me, that's not an audience, you know. It's just about your friends. I may be a dreamer, but the dreamers come true, you know. So this guy, I'm going to ask the people at the Marriott's Essex house where do you get this long jacket thing. It's pretty hip.
So now explain that again. You'd like to dress like one of the bellhops?
Well, I don't know if it's the bellhop or whatever, but there's someone here. There's someone on the staff is wearing kind of a formal long jacket with little gold epaulets.
It's a society called the Golden Keys.
Has any rock star ever asked for your coat before?
No, first time. First time we had this request, yes.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
these guys were at the job.
The concierge gave up his jacket for you.
Well, I guess we don't have any buttons on here, but... Not bad. This is not bad. I definitely would...
You wear what you want to wear.
Yeah. What you look cool in.
Yeah.
I think that looks pretty cool.
Do you want somebody to go get your leather pants, Arthur?
He was telling me just today that he's bought some boots and he wants to find a long coat that goes down to his knees. He wants to convey a Joseph Smith kind of image.
He said, I have kind of a white ruffly shirt and black leather pants.
Joseph Smith, Brigham Young, you know, pick your prophet. That's who Arthur wants to be when he's on stage.
I may be on time, but rock and roll is not on time. Yeah,
Why not?
Go for it. Really. I didn't find any feather boas. You like that?
Oh, be still my heart.
Okay, guys, we're on stage in 20 minutes.
You look great, by the way. It's really put together fabulous. this outfit. And you know, the whole pirate thing, the whole swashbuckling thing, is very au courant. Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp, yeah, from the Viper Room.
This is going to be an unforgettable evening. We have Morrissey to thank for it.
These New York Doll shirts. Where'd you get these New York Doll shirts that the dog was walking around in?
No, it's my buddy. We got a little business out front.
Oh, okay, cool.
But you don't get your cut. Because you're just going to give it to the church. Is that your guy? I mean, you are lovely. John Smith and his wonderful Brigham Young people. They will tithe Arthur. They'll say, your bishop's going to be saying, t-shirt sales?
Oh. Well, I have to give to the church 10% of my earnings, of my gains. Profit. It's a pretty good deal. It's like an agent's fee.
I'm going to take the Mormon tobacco assessment blessing program. What else do you have to do?
Okay, the Mormons have a thing called
Yeah, they didn't smoke when Moses went up on the hill.
no tobacco, no alcohol, and no caffeine.
No caffeine? Yeah, no coke. It's very sensible. Yeah. Because, you know, caffeine turns into a speed freak. Yeah. Nicotine's the most addictive drug there is.
Oh, that's
I pray, that's no problem. What else?
Well, oh, you have to obey the Ten Commandments.
You have to what?
Try to obey the Ten Commandments.
I didn't pay over one. So I'm gonna fix that.
No, there's a lot of stuff to do. I don't have to wait at the moment.
You don't do alcohol in the church.
No way.
I don't drink. I got that one.
Yeah. You want your one? David, I'm saying the prayer tonight.
You are good.
Yeah. Our kind and gracious Heavenly Father, as we bow our heads before Thee this day, we wish to thank Thee. It is with gratitude in our hearts that we wish to thank Thee for the many multiple blessings that You bring into our lives, all of our lives. And dear Heavenly Father, if there was any band that is wishes to thank You for this great blessing, it's the New York Dolls. We ask that the spirits of Johnny, Billy, and Jerry be with us this evening also. And dear Heavenly Father, we ask that we play well, that we have fun, the audience has fun, and that everyone will have a great time. And dear Heavenly Father, for these things we pray in the name of Thy beloved Son, Master Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen. Oh, boy. Very well put, baby. Beautiful.
Let's hit it.
For a kid from New York to be able to do this here at the Royal Festival Hall is a privilege. Please welcome the New York
I was worried that the reality would destroy the myth.
My kids listen to the Dolls because, you know, typically they've gone through Dad's collection. And I said, I've got tickets for the Dolls. They got out of school, and they said, we don't want to go. And I said, excuse me? You know, the New York Dolls, you know? And they said, no, because it won't be like the poster on the wall, and it won't be like the record. And as I left tonight, they refused to come. They were playing the record and looking at the poster, but they were afraid, kind of like me, that I was just reliving my youth.
Because you fear the absolute worst in these events, and you're convinced that it can only be disappointing, and the past is the past, and it's a long time ago, and whoever made that great music is now going to look silly.
But that wasn't the case. The guys delivered 100%.
They did it absolutely right, and everybody was just aghast. I don't think he ever really believed that he would ever be standing on a stage playing those songs again with David and Sylvain. And watching him throughout the night, I could just see a sense of bewilderment, sadness and joy. Everything was in his face. And I think he was just praying throughout the night, praying with thanks to somebody whom he now believed in.
Dolls broke up, I kind of like took a look at myself, you know, and said, you know, you're such an asshole. And I started changing. You know, Arthur is such a beautiful, brilliant, droll, but like sensitive cat, you know, and his inner core is strong, that he can, you know, stand up for himself.
David, I noticed that Arthur didn't move around a lot on stage.
No. Deep vibes of bass actually makes you have to, I've got to stand still here because I'm getting such severe vibrations coming through. It's like all down there, you know, it's in the loin.
I don't think it's really about the personality. I think it's about how is God playing through him. So if he loves God, he'd be a great bass player.
David Johansen, still a fantastic showman. Sylvain is the heart and soul, and Arthur truly remains the only living statue in rock and roll.
See
rock and roll band likes to make people happy. It's part of it. It's really, that's what our job is, to make people dance and to get excited. It's like showtime. We make excitement, you know?
I can remember telling him, hey, gosh, congratulations. You played again after 30 years, and what a great success story. And he quickly corrected me and said, no, the success is that I was able to go back with my good friends and go back and mend fences with David. That's what was so important about getting back together again.
That was excellent. That was excellent. Rule. Rule. Where's Sil? Hey, Sil, you little bastard. What did I do now? Oh, my goodness. Oh, God.
Oh, we love you too, Tony.
Oh, you make me so happy.
I love Arthur.
Arthur.
Guy kicking out the door.
Such good bass, my son, such sexual bass.
Arthur. Man, the killer. The killer.
No,
you're not killing. Glad to see it.
Right.
There might be some like. Call me Arthur.
You based yourselves, but you based us more.
This is my Grace Arthur. She just wants to say hi.
Hi, Bob. How are you? Arthur has aged very well. It's not his fault, his hair.
You guys were friends.
One of the best things I've ever seen.
Doing this either, man, but you should. Head of the French fan club. Oh, okay, sure.
I think did you see me smiling at you? We were going,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did you hear a really loud scream from the back? Because that would have been me.
Oh, okay.
What are you going to do? You're not going to go back to the day job after this, are you?
You know, it's funny, they're expecting me back.
Are they?
Yeah. I work in the library.
Where?
And it's understaffed at the moment.
And I went to him later and I said, absolutely fantastic playing. And his eyes were welling.
He looks just at home. You know, that's the truth. He looks like, you look totally easy on the stage. I could do without the leather pants, a bit of a mistake, you know, and the Diamante tie look, you know. But that's probably the Mormon influence. He shouldn't go back to that library. He was telling me that he was a bit sad that on Monday morning he'd put on his suit and he'd put on the tie and shirt and get on the bus.
There's room for both.
And, you know, I think he should put on his Diamante tie and get on the band bus.
So, see if the MTA wants to look at this. Plug for,
It's a modern-day limousine for rock stars.
My concern was that he would come back from London, he'd just come back to his apartment here in Los Angeles, and his life would be the same as it was before. And it occurred to me that could be very painful for him.
There's so much noise out here. Okay, this is a song I would normally play for my inspirational message inside the Family History Center for my fellow workers in the Family History Center. This song is called Love One Another.
Seemed to have jet lag for several days, which wasn't surprising.
He did say he was tired and felt like he had picked up a cold while he was over there.
He didn't know he was sick.
On July 13th, he said he needed to go to the emergency room.
And pioneering glam rock bass player Arthur Kane of the New York Dolls died in Los Angeles Tuesday night, according to Billboard.com. The group's manager says Kane had leukemia. He was 55. Kane is the fourth New York Doll to pass away, including guitarist Johnny Thunder, who died of a drug overdose in 1991.
It's a tragedy because we lost a really sweet man.
And a good friend.
And a very good friend. But it is a blessing that he passed so rapidly without having to suffer, without losing all of his hair and going through all of the treatments and the tremendous amount of medical bills and things. So it was a blessing as well.
If a life must end, as Arthur's did, it was a beautiful way for him to go.
People who have like really been in the war, but then come out the other end as, you know, for lack of a better word, spiritual beings. That's the greatest kind of person in the world, to me.
You don't have that big tall guy to call on when you need help. But we're trying to carry on without him.
Good times for a change. See, the luck I've had can make a good man turn bad. So please, 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 let me get what I want this time. Haven't had a dream in a long time. See, the life I've had can make a good man bad. So for once in my life, let me get what I want. Lord knows it would be the first time. Lord knows it would be the first time.
The miracle of God's creation, Arthur Killer Kane. Ye poor wayfaring man of grief hath often passed me on my way, who sued so humbly for relief that I could never answer nay. I had not power to ask his name, whereto he went, for whence he came. Yet there was something in his eye that won my love, I know not why. Once when my scanty meal was spread, he entered, not a word was spake, just perishing for want of bread. I gave him all, he blessed it and brake. He ate but gave me part again. Mine was an angel's portion then. For while I fed in eager hate, the crust was manna to my taste. And I saw him next condemned to meet a traitor's doom at morn. The tide of lying tongues I stemmed and honored him mid shame and scorn. My friendship's utmost zeal to try, he asked if I for him would die. The flesh was weak, my blood ran chill, but my free spirit cried, I will. Then in a moment to my view, the stranger started from disguise. The tokens in his hands I knew. The Savior stood before my eyes. He spake in my poor name. He named of me, thou hast not been ashamed. These deeds shall thy memorial be. Fear not, thou didst them unto me.